All right. I believe we are live
Hello.
and it is time for you to share. I am going to do my intro in just a moment, but I'm sharing and I hope that you are doing the same. Come on in, join us live right here for the next 30 good minutes. We have an amazing conversation. So while I am saying hello and telling you a bit about us, this is your opportunity to share. And yes, I'm looking for you to engage with us as well. You know how we do. This is not just us talking to each other, but I have questions for you as we are discussing, and I'm looking for you to share. So jump on in and invite someone else to do the same. My name is Trinace Richardson, and I am the founder of Real Women Rock because we do. I get so excited. We exist to create safe spaces for women to do personal development work on themselves. And we do that through sister circles. And pre COVID, we were meeting in person. Our virtual sister circles have begun since COVID, and we meet monthly. And so we invite you to come join us wherever you live in the world. You are welcome to meet us in our monthly sister circles. It is a safe space where you are led into a meaningful discussion by a trained facilitator. And it is not just that one person who talks. It is a discussion amongst everyone there, and that person sort of moderates and organizes that discussion. This is heavy because the very next one is Saturday, January 23rd, and the topic is, ouch, is it time for a digital detox?
It is. For all of
See,
us.
we
I
can
know the
have a
answer
whole
right now.
conversation, Olivia. Okay, so please, we invite you to join us. You can sit back, soak it all in. You don't have to say anything. You can choose to turn your camera off, or you can jump in and engage in the conversation. It's a safe space for you. January 23rd, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And all of that information can be found at realwomenrock.org. You see that below me, right? realwomenrock.org. We invite you there. But we are here right now because every Thursday night in 2021, whenever we have a guest, we are giving you a sneak peek into a conversation, a real conversation with real women. And we have had over the years amazing women to come, and tonight is no different. I am elated. I just finished having a whole girlfriend conversation with Olivia. And so I am excited to introduce to some of you and present to others of you Miss Olivia Scott. And she is so many things, a marketing guru, her own company, Emerge Alliances. And she also is a yoga teacher, instructor, has her own yoga practice flow that you can become a part of called Freedom at the Mat. She is a speaker, a writer. It just doesn't stop. She's written for Essence Magazine. And so I am elated to have this conversation about finding freedom with you. You want to say hello to everybody?
Of course I do. Hello to everybody and hello to you as well. It is an honor and a blessing to be here always. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It is a blessing to have you here. And we've got some folks coming in. So, hey, y'all, we see
Hello.
you. Hello, hello. We are literally going to talk about finding freedom, true freedom, because it is, I believe, a word that it can be overused, it can be misused. I think we don't discuss it enough when it comes to what it truly means.
Yeah.
And we may even take it lightly sometimes. So, just with that as our umbrella, I'd love for you to start and just talk about what you do and anything personal you want to share about your life. It doesn't have to start under that umbrella. Just want to get to know you and your story a little bit for those who are listening.
Of course. So again, thank you very much, Dr. Chinese, for the invitation and for everybody who is here tonight. So I am originally from Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised. I left at 17. I went to University of Missouri for undergrad, and I graduated. I had my degree in journalism. The
Wow.
track was advertising. So I went to university because I wanted to be a broadcast journalist, and I placed third in the state of Tennessee under broadcast journalism in high school. So that's what I thought I wanted to be. I got to Mizzou And it was all of this like competition on campus where
Mm.
literally, because people had come from all over the world to go to University of Missouri for journalism. So you'd be at lunch and guys like Charles Pugh and Barrington, these guys, Calvin Hughes, they'd be like, hey, they'd be like, what are you having for lunch right now? He's like, what? And I was like, okay, I don't know if I have it in me to be a reporter like that. I was like, I'm not real sure that this is a track for me. So I kind of shifted that track and went to advertising. So I graduated and I moved to Chicago and began working in advertising. And I've been working in advertising ever since. I was in Chicago from 95 to '01 at ad agencies, and I moved to New York City when I just decided intentionally to get out of the advertising agency business and shift to the media side. And so I moved to New York, like I said, in 2001, and I was at Live Nation, In Demand Television, Vibe Magazine. Then I was the CMO of Carol's Daughter, and that was when I ended up starting my company in 2009. I originally started my company in 2009. I should mention that when Vibe folded. So Vibe Magazine, we had very abrupt folding overnight.
Wow.
And that was when I first started on Merge Alliances. But what I realized that first go round was that because I was an accidental entrepreneur, which I think many of us are during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
good. I wasn't set up for longevity. I wasn't set up for scalability. So
Yeah.
I was pretty vulnerable. Like whatever client came my way, I kind of just took it. There was no real focus for Emerging Alliances from 2009 to 2011. And
Yeah.
then I was invited to go in to be a CMO. I thought, okay, well, that would be a good experience. I've been on the agency side, the media side, then I had the opportunity to be on the brand side. So those were my professional experiences. And I started on Emerging Alliances then I restarted it after leaving Carol's Daughter in 2012. So I have been independent now consistently for almost 9 years, but we started in '09. And throughout that journey, I've been a professor at NYU for the past 11 years. And I'm now teaching at Loyola in New Orleans, as well as University of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also a yoga teacher. I love yoga, and that's a spiritual side of me. I'm definitely a woman of God, so we definitely connect around that. A lot of things, and just wanting to serve. I think that all of the accomplishments are just, my mom, when she raised me, she said, what God gives to you is his gift to you. And what you do with those gifts is your gift back to him.
That's beautiful.
And yeah, so I think, and she would always say that. And so I think, I have a lot of opportunities that come and I take them because I can do them and I have the gifts to do them. And I feel like those are my gifts. And a lot of times it's like I just help friends with things. And I'm always feeling like I'm stretched to capacity. But I feel like we're here not just to be money making creatures. I don't like make a dime for everything I do. A lot of times I feel like there's divine compensation around you giving to the world. And then when you need it, it comes back to you. So that's kind of how I live my life.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that background. And it helps for so many reasons. First of all, it lets us know that you and I are soul sisters because there's just so much in common. I shared with you, I'm literally taking a moment from my yoga teacher training in order to do this. And so I am in love with how you have integrated it all. And chosen, as we talked about a few moments ago before we started recording, just chosen to honor the promptings and the moments that God chooses to move us, Yes. And as you do that, not being afraid of where that takes you. Or maybe even doing it scared.
You're still afraid. I mean,
right. Wait a minute.
Like through the journey, I'm always careful because I'm never trying to brag. Like my intention is never trying, right? The intention is to share my journey because we all have had a journey. Everybody has a journey.
Right.
But as I was sharing with you before, people like, oh my gosh, you're so successful, you're this. And I'm like, okay, that's, whatever you want to say, it depends on how you define success, right? I've had professional accomplishments, yes. But it's really about the journey. And it's about the faith in God that was tested along the way.
That is so good. That's so good. I want to talk I know that's going to come up in what we're sharing about because of of where we need to generate the answers from. I mean, just our faith in God and everything else. So I would love for you to help us with this topic, because I've already put the question out there, and I've already gotten a great question in response. I asked our audience, do you truly feel free? Do you feel you are truly free? And the immediate answer that came back from one of our Real Women sisters was, free from what? So I thought that was an amazing question. And so the reason why I chose this topic is, one, we're going to get to it. You wrote an article that was amazing for Essence. And I think it's one of the kinds of freedoms that we can talk about. We'll talk about in a moment. But I wanted to start at a baseline and just answer that question for her. What are we talking about when we talk about true freedom? What does true freedom mean and look like to you? And to the audience, I would ask you to just share, in whatever areas you feel you are free. Let's talk about those, share, and where you feel like you're stuck or you wouldn't be able to describe yourself as free. What does that sound like and look like for you? So continue the conversation in the chat. And Olivia, I'd love for you to share what it looks like for you.
Freedom for me is living a spirit-led life.
Ooh.
Okay. So sometimes I feel completely ungrounded because I am just like flying free. I am making decisions from my spirit. And if my spirit says go, then that's what I do. So for me, that's freedom. So it's around everything. If it's a person that I'm dating, how do I feel? How does my spirit feel with that person? If it's a neighborhood that I'm considering living in, how do I, and it's literally how I make all of my decisions. How does my spirit feel in that environment? There's sometimes I'm in an environment, I'm around certain energies, and I'm not feeling comfortable. I'm not feeling safe. My energy does not feel free. I feel oppressed. I feel suppressed. There's something around it where I don't feel like I can breathe. For me, I want to always feel like my spirit is welcome. If I come into a room and I feel an oppressive energy, or I feel something that to me is not free. So I just want to be in any place, in any space, whether I go and walk into a church, I walk into a synagogue, I walk into City Hall, and because of that, I tend to like places that have a lot of space, like high ceilings. I like to be in space, which kind of had expired for me, right? But freedom for me is anywhere my spirit can feel free. And that is a big part of my journey, my transition from New York to New Orleans. I had to take a 1-year sabbatical. I was there for 19 years, and I moved here temporarily from in January of 2020. And what was really the challenge around that, 3 years, I was stuck.
Wow.
Spiritually.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't happy. I did not enjoy.
Talking now, Olivia. Go ahead. You're addressing some of what was just mentioned in the chat. So flow, girl.
Okay. I wasn't feeling happy. There was any of my friends who wanted me to go meet them, and I had to take one more train ride to go see them, one more ferry ride, one more bus ride over to Jersey, one more whatever, one more train ride to church, one more train ride from the grocery store. I could go on and on. My spirit said no. It literally shut down and said, this is not where you can fly anymore. You need to relocate your body.
Wow.
And I was like, but where? Like, what? Literally, like, where? There was no grounding. I'd been in New York for 19 years. Like, where do you want me to go? And sure enough, I'd spent a lot of time in New Orleans for a long time. And I had a couple of friends here, which was enough for me. And my father's in Memphis, my family's in Memphis. And I took one step. Somebody said, I got a house. Somebody said, I got a teaching gig. And I said, well, and I showed up and I put one foot out and I said, well, can I have this apartment? They said, absolutely. When do you want it? Can I have this? And everything, literally, it's like everything opened. And I said, okay, I guess that means this is where, and I cannot begin to tell you, like, sincerely, that leap of faith, that step of faith, that was completely bold, and I was nervous and shaking in my boots the entire time that I was hacking, all of it. I was not sure, right?
Yeah.
You have no sure what you're leaning in, I had no certainty of what I was leaning into. But to see my life, I mean, Freedom at the Mat, we created the YouTube channel here just June 10, 2020.
Wow.
We just started. I was teaching classes in New York, and I was like, but I didn't have enough space creatively to create more. I
Yeah.
only had time to teach a class once a month here or there.
Yeah.
But once I had the creative liberties, my spirit to fly
Yes.
from here, we
Yes.
now have 1,100 followers on YouTube and
Mm-hmm.
4,400 on Instagram. And I share those numbers not out of vanity, but out of look
Yeah.
at what,
Evidence of a testimony.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
God wanted to do, what he had waiting for me if I could just take that step.
Woo, this is so good. Let me tell you why this is good, because the beginning of the question, my sister in here asked, free from what?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the flow of even our conversation before pressing record or live is just evidence that freedom is a spiritual thing first,
Mm-hmm.
before, relationship freedom, before health freedom, before job freedom, before any of those other things that people look at to say, I'm free to do this and free to do that. There has to be this settling of spirit that says, I am where I'm supposed to be. And I heard you say that, and we've all experienced it, right? In whatever area, when we feel stuck, when we feel bound, when we feel like I can no longer do this anymore, then that is a sign that something has to change in order to free us up. And so we've gotten some answers based on what we've shared thus far and where people are. And some folks have said, I know I'm holding myself back a little, so I wouldn't describe myself as free. I know I could be doing more in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gotten a couple of those in the chat. I guess I'm wondering from you, with all that you've chosen to do and in this space now where you are not only feeling free, but you're ushering other folks into a sense of freedom with the work that you do as a yoga instructor. And I'm looking at a marketing guru, a business owner. There's so much that you do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, is now that you're sitting on the other side of it with the evidence, what does freedom feel like as you are experiencing it? Does it feel like, oh, I get to do all the things that I want to do? Or does it feel like I choose, I don't do all of them, I choose? What does freedom look and feel like once you are experiencing it? So we'll know,
It's magical.
Yeah.
It is magical. It is very divine led. There is a constant connection with the divine, like morning, mid morning, noon, afternoon, night. Like there's nothing I do without the spirit and the divine connection being like, this is okay to do.
Yeah.
And everybody may or may not be able to understand that, but that's just kind of, how I live my life. I also find that there's a spirit of gratitude constantly because I'm grateful. I always recognize that everything that I have, my activity of my limbs, my activity of my bodily functions, my full faculty of my mind, those basic things, my hearing, my ability to speak, I don't take anything for granted.
Yeah.
I live in just the real spirit of gratitude at all times. And there are definitely a lot of times, sister, where I feel overwhelmed sometimes, quite often.
Yeah, say more about that, because I think we would assume that true freedom looks like all good feelings and all joy. And so say something more about that, please.
Yeah, because when you're free and you're living your life from a spirit, I'll speak for myself, for me.
Mm-hmm.
I get out new opportunities every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to choose. And sometimes I bite off a little bit more than I can chew.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm in that process right now
Yeah.
where I have bitten off a little bit more right now. And I really can't wait till like February.
I hear you.
Yeah, I'm waiting for February 1st just to get over this month of January because I did in that quiet month of December of
Mhm.
can you do this? Can you do this? What about this? What about and it's that first period of
Mhm.
month where everybody's getting ready for the year where I might have just accepted too much.
Yep.
So, there's I think there's that side of me that is disciplined and
Yes.
it takes great effort for this brain to be that way. But I do have that side of me that, and it's also a divine thing. I got to tell you, I'm sure this happened for you too, and
Mhm.
for many of you all that are watching and listening. I promise you, some mornings God will tell me what to focus on.
Yeah. That's good.
Olivia, today I need you to finish that like by 9.
Mhm.
The spirit of that girl finish it. And it'll be something I really don't want to do because, of course, we always gravitate to the things that we would rather do. So I'd rather be creating yoga sequences,
Uh-huh.
twirling around in my living room, creating, asanas. I'd rather
Yeah.
be doing that all day, every day,
Right.
but I can't. I got to stop and grade papers. I have to stop,
Yeah.
grade, you know what I mean? So you have to balance a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so good. I love the the yin and yang of it. The while at the very same time, because I really do feel I am in a space of true freedom. And I love the name of your yoga business, Freedom at the Mat, because um, as controversial as it is for some, because I come from a Pentecostal church background, and so yoga is woo woo to some and scares some folk and all of that. And so I'm delivered, and I leave them be, and I invite them to pray for me. So, but because of that, I have found such freedom on my mat and in my life. And it was a precursor. It was happening before yoga, but I love what you said, because I believe God prepares us for things and gives us nudges, and the more sensitive we are to the nudges that we're given, and moving in the directions that we feel led inwardly, I believe more awaits us. We get entrusted with more the more we trust God. And so it literally is a step by step. You mentioned that earlier, a step by step process. So I don't have to have all good feelings all day. I can be frustrated with something or exhausted, or like you said yes to too much, and it left me, with just a little bit. But what I have internally is a freedom to choose, to pivot, to listen to the nudges and adjust and readjust, so that I don't dwell and stay in any place that is not joyful and peaceful. And I think that pivoting and adjusting, it brings us back to a spiritual freedom. I love, love, love. And so there's been some answers in here. What does freedom look like for you? I wanted to share. One person said, I'm free from family hurt. Ooh, so good.
Beautiful.
When you love family members so much and there's hurt there, and you have to do whatever that takes, whether it's a conversation or whether it's a distancing, whatever that looks like, when you can truly say you're free from family hurt, that's beautiful, Robin. And then someone said freedom is balance. Ooh, I like that. I would add to that, Mr. Rouse, and I would say I love alignment, like, and of course it's a yoga thing, but I love I love alignment. Do you want to say anything about any of what anyone has shared before we move forward?
No, I mean, I would say I'm seeking balance right now. And I think I like that because today on Instagram, we actually posted, I give myself permission to live in balance. It
Mm.
said work, love, life, play, rest, pretty much. And so I appreciate that, Mr. Rowson, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Appreciate that and just speaking that word into my life because I really am trying to reel it in so that I can live in balance. I feel like right now the scales are unbalanced, but I know we're going to get them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I love to talk about that in terms of seasons
Mm-hmm.
because I've come to recognize that I'm never going to give my family and my business and myself the same amount of time at any one space and time. Like because I'm one person, I'll never be able, my husband will never feel like she's giving me attention when I'm at yoga. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll never all feel it at the same time at all times. And so for me, it's seasons. And I've been able to say, you know, okay, so this is a season, whether that's a week or a month or, you know, today, whatever that looks like, but I'm going to focus here today. And then I need to adjust my focus tomorrow because I need to make sure they're taken care of. And so I think we have to, along with balance is grace. I think we got to give ourselves some grace.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's actually my favorite word in the universe is grace.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
I ask for it. Like I actually just, just how I speak and how I write, I'll ask people professionally. I'll say, thank you for your grace. I made a human mistake. I thank you for your grace. Or, I'm going to extend some grace on this just because I feel like we're humans transacting in professional lives and with different spirits out there. And I just have to interject certain words that give me peace when I say them. And grace is definitely one of them, Dr. Trinace.
That is so good. So I would love for you, just two more questions. One about your Essence article, because it must be one of your core words because you found a way to visit this word in a lot of different areas in your life. And we've already mentioned family hurt. And I believe loss is something that a lot of people experience this day and time in this season. Usually wintertime, you experience more loss anyway. But now with the COVID season, just there's so much grief happening. And you wrote in essence about finding freedom from grief and from the loss of your mom. And it was such a touching, moving article. If you could just speak into our lives for those of us who have lost or, feel a sense of loss, or may even be coming down the road for us. Just what did that look like for you as it related to your loss and your grief and then finding freedom in that?
So, my mom died, I was 28, and it was pretty unexpected when it happened. So at that time, I was living in New York and it happened. And long story short, I got to Memphis. The businesswoman that I am and her surrogate, if you will, I just managed the business of it. And I didn't really cry very much. I pushed through all the business of it and I flew back to New York and I was like, well, let me just live the life she'd want me to live. She'd really put a lot of energy into raising me and putting me in certain programs and schools and whatever. So I wanted to make sure that I was living my life to make her proud. Yeah. And that was 2002. And it wasn't until I think this year, that's why I wrote the article, that I realized that there was a lot of suspended grief. A lot of suspended grief that I had held on to while making a life for myself, while married, while getting a graduate degree, where you just push through life and you never really pause to process the loss. Because nobody really wants to stop and feel sad.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then there were people in my life, around me. Many of them were lovely during the time of the funeral in Memphis. But once you get back to New York or get back to your job, you got to get back to it.
Get back to it.
So, the society does not really support ongoing grief. People don't even know what to do with it. Right. And I will forever be grateful to the HR director at my job in New York at the time who demanded and persisted that I go see a therapist.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And I was, from Memphis. I was 20. I was like, what? Didn't even know what she was talking about. Yeah. And she was like, we have the EAP program. You get the first 5 visits for free. And I was like, no, I'm good. She's like, no, I'm going to come back tomorrow. You're going to choose your therapist. Here's the directory. And I was like, this whole thing. And so it was the best decision. And I was actually with him. His name was Rudy, Dr. Rudy Lucas, for 17 years, actually.
Wow.
And he's like an uncle to me. He was definitely very critical in me processing that grief.
Yeah.
And I've just seen it show up in a lot of different ways. You know, when you don't have, for me, not having a mom, there were just things that I didn't do because I was fearful of doing them without a mother present in my life, like having kids or certain things. You're just like, well, how am I going to do this without a mom? And so I kind of realized it. And I just invite everybody to face it,
Yeah.
to understand that grief really is, as Dr. Ajita Robinson talks about, a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
It really is. It doesn't mean you have to be sad the whole time, but honoring the loss and honoring, you know, your moment. There's sometimes, as I've written in the article, Christmas and Mother's Day are kind of triggers for me. And so I kind of am a little patient with myself during those times. I don't really make a lot of plans. I kind of keep it easy because I'm never really sure if it's gonna be a year where the Mother's Day is really over the top, or if it's gonna be a year in which I'm gonna be okay. There's some Mother's Days where I would go volunteer. There's one that I made all these like Mother's Day packages for mothers, unwed teenage mothers in Newark, New Jersey, and I spent the day with them. There's sometimes I can have the energy to do that, right? As a way to, you know what I mean? Kind of fill the gap. But there's sometimes that I feel the loss. So
yeah, you just never know, and you have to give yourself space. I love Mr. Ralston said grace and peace. He loved those words. I'm adding space to it now because I love what you said. There has to be space, whether it's physical space, giving yourself the days, the weeks, you know, in a space, literally getting off, taking off the days, going to a counselor, what physical space you need to be in. But giving yourself the emotional, the chronological time space to just, you know, to process and know that it'll come up, it'll pop up, and, you know, you will think things are okay, and they may not be. And so it sounds like there is some freedom even in your being able to express and talk about and process your loss, and then not just pretend everything is okay and you're over it. Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, that was it was so interesting because I really hadn't, you know, paused to talk about it. And I'd left Memphis so long ago. And I think the trigger for that article was I'd gone to visit and I was with a friend who said, would you ever move back to Memphis? And I was just like, you know what? And then as soon as I said, you know what, and I began to really posit the question and think about if I would or not, all of these emotions connected to having lost my mother and my home at the same time. Right? I was just like, I don't know if I can, because Memphis for me is synonymous with home and mom, right? So I was like, I'm not, and I was like, wait. And I really in that moment was like, wait, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't deal with that's coming up right now. You couldn't even return to the place you were born 20 years later. Like, let's really dig into this.
Right.
So I think I just invite us all just to your point, the word of the day, if not the week or the year, is space.
Yeah.
Something I want to say is, you know, I think that it all comes down to some solitude and connecting with yourself. Because I think that the city and life has a way of clouding you connecting with your feelings and with your inner divine.
Many of us don't want to sit still long enough to know thyself, to really tune in to who we are and what we're feeling. I've had people tell me that, you know, they're so busy because they're afraid of what happens when they sit still, you know, and we will over medicate. We will do some things, you know, to so that we don't have to focus and feel. And I love saying that life is work either way. Life is work. It is exhausting to pretend like everything is okay, or to pretend like you don't have anything you need to deal with, because that's living a duplicitous life, and that is exhausting. And then it's work to actually deal with the stuff of life.
Yes.
But so you get to choose your work, we get to choose our work. And I would rather be on the side of developing the muscle of personal development and spiritual development and, doing that type of work. I'll ask you, this 30 minutes always flies by. It flies by quicker when we're having a good discussion. So I'll have to invite you back and see if you come.
Okay. It's always wonderful connecting with beautiful, like-minded people. So
Yeah, we'll stay connected. I have a couple of things I'll share with you afterward. But I would love for you to share a couple of things. One, of course, is how folks can find you after this, because maybe they need some advice or consultation as it relates to marketing, and you are the guru in that. Or maybe they need to get involved in yoga because they need a mechanism that invites them into freedom and peace and more healthfulness. And so, maybe they want to follow your writing. There are tons of ways they could stay connected to you. Could you list some of those? She is beautiful, V. You've got some compliments in here. And so if you wouldn't mind listing some of those things, but whatever final words of advice you would give us as well about finding freedom or anything that comes to mind.
So again, it's been such a blessing and such an honor. Thank you so much. Omerge Alliances is a hub. So Omerge, OMERGE Alliances.com is the hub for all things Olivia. You go there, you'll see my writing blog for Medium, you'll see the marketing work, and then there's a Freedom at the Mat tab on Omerge Alliances. It will take you to the Freedom at the Mat website, which is separate. I invite everyone listening to definitely subscribe to us on YouTube and to follow Freedom at the Mat on Instagram, and not for any like vanity reasons. It's really about the work that I am trying to do there. For me, I feel like all of us are here on earth for a finite amount of time and we have work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I do always feel that I am very blessed, and the life, my journey has been a blessing, and I want to bless others. And so I really enjoy using the Freedom at the Mat Instagram and Freedom at the Mat YouTube as a place to invite us to really explore self-development through movement, mindfulness, and meditation. So you'll find that we've got all types of meditations, an honesty meditation, a gratitude meditation, lots of asanas. So lots of like 20-minute flows, 30-minute flows, 15-minute flows. If you're not into yoga at all, we've got just talk only, where I do 10-minute rants around different self-development topics and reading. So I invite you to support the Freedom at the Mat community and really do your best to find your authentic self and live your authentic life. I think that's the only real obligation that we have to ourselves. And once you connect with your authentic self, then you can be a blessing to other people. I can't be a blessing to anybody if I'm not really connected with who I'm supposed to be on the earth.
Yeah.
I'm really clear about that now more than ever. And I'm also clear that there's room for all of us. I have an agape mindset. I'm sure you do too.
Yes.
So you believe in the law of agape or the law of scarcity, and you believe that there's not enough room or there is enough room. And I believe there's room for all of us. And so I'm just grateful for you all giving me the time and attention, 30 minutes to, share with you what I do. And I pray that if there are things you guys want to share with me that you're up to, that I can support you as well. And continue supporting Dr. Trinace and what she's doing. I think the work.
Such a beautiful soul. Oh my gosh. I'm with V, literally, and I don't say this all the time, but just literally the light that illuminates from you. I really appreciate just like-minded spirits, and I will be in touch with more and how we can talk more about the work that we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Been
Thank
a
you.
blessing. Yeah. You all, this has been a good 30 minutes of real conversation with real women. We are here every Thursday night to give you a sneak peek into these real conversations. We invite you to more. We invite you to more conversation with us, lengthier conversation, more in-depth, interactive conversation. We have our monthly sister circles. They are, depending upon the month, we announce the dates every month. January's is January 23rd, and it's at 11 a.m. Eastern. Our topic is it time for a digital detox? And you know it is. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm scared to get into it, but we are. We're going to get into it so that we can talk about it and just talk about what our challenges and what our lessons are from it together. All of that information can be found at realwomenrock.org. Again, realwomenrock.org. And we are a nonprofit 501c3, so you're always invited to sow a seed into the work that we do. Thank you so much, Olivia. You all don't forget to go to emergealliances.com and check out all the beautiful work that Olivia is doing. And we will see you all next week. Thank you, Olivia.
All right, no problem. Thank you. God bless everybody.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.